involves trying to make the most profit possible from the game. This means that things such as ticket prices are driven up by clubs to maximise profit. Also affects the price of merchandise such as boots and kits and balls. Commercialism leads to the amount of footballers in the game constantly increasing, and the amount of money also increasing, as clubs can afford to pay young players contracts to get them signed on, many of which often end up getting released and never making professional appearances. It also has an effect on the press, as reporters will over-exaggerate stories about footballers in an attempt to make the story sell. This will then lead to the company who made the story making more profit. Globalisation is the expansion of football around the world through press, TV. This means people have to pay to watch things such as the FA Cup final, Champions League final, European football, which again brings more money into the game. Short-term effects are that it can reduce crowds due to the ticket prices being too high. People can't afford it, they can't go and watch the games, they have to watch them in their home. Clubs can make lots more money if people still buy the memorabilia at its higher prices. Sponsorship deals can provide a large injection of cash quickly to a football team, and could push people away from participating at grassroots level due to the cost of equipment. If they can't afford things such as boots to play, then they won't be able to play. Long-term effects are that it leads to the game being money-orientated, meaning teams which have a lot of money are generally the best. They can afford to pay the huge wages and transfer fees for the world's best players. It also means that certain clubs have to fold if they can't bring enough money in to meet the ever-increasing costs of playing the game. Equipment companies such as Nike and Adidas have an increased profit margin, meaning they're making more money. And it also leads to the clubs being in debt, and eventually administration if they can't pay off that debt, which can lead to punishments such as relegation. I'll talk about child protection. A quote from the FA handbook is that the FA continues to be committed to ensuring all necessary steps are taken to protect from harm children and young people who participate in football at all levels. This shows a commitment from the FA to keep children safe whilst playing. The FA makes regularly updated CDP guidebooks, which is child protection, on safety within the sport. All clubs are also required to perform CRB checks on all coaching staff before employing them to make sure it is safe for the children to be performing under the influence of the coach. The FA also states that all children and young people have the right to be protected from abuse regardless of their age, gender, if they have any disabilities, their culture, language, racial origin and religious beliefs. Short-term effects are that it will get more children involved in the game if they feel secure and safe whilst participating. It could produce positive media for the FA as they are seen to be doing everything they can to help getting children involved in the game and keep them safe whilst playing. Long-term effects are that it increases the number of players, as more children at grassroots level means more players will become professionals. It will also help reduce the number of cases of child abuse, as everyone's checked, meaning less children will be victimised to such things. Can create more job opportunities, as more staff will be needed if more youth teams and academies are opened around the country. Age. Football is the #1 sport in England for both adults and children. It's part of our national culture and our daily lives. That again is from the FA handbook, stating that they want that football is important at all ages. It's openly available to people of all ages, regardless of their physical condition. An example of a scheme introduced to help get older people involved in the game is walking football. It's basically a slower version of the game where you can't run, put on around the country by the FA for people with less mobility. Regular exercise is essential for growing. Football could be the source of this exercise. age also has a large effect on physical capabilities. The human body maintains its optimal fitness up until around the age of 30. From then on, you lose about 2% of your fitness and strength each year naturally. Short-term effects of this are that it gets more people involved in playing the game, as people of different ages can get involved on different schemes. If not enough interest in is seen in the programme, then they'll lose funding and the programme will be cancelled. This could lead to jobs being lost and more people being unemployed. But if funding is given and the programme is successful, then it could lead to more of the same programme being run, which could mean more staff would need to be involved, meaning it could create jobs. And finally, it creates good media for clubs and towns which support these programmes. Long-term effects are that it gets more people involved in playing the game, it increases funding, which leads to other things, and they'll be able to use that for other things if they have sufficient funding already. Over the long term, jobs could be lost if funding is cut, and it could create jobs as more staff may be needed.
Class. Right, out of the list you explained, what do you think are your 4 biggest issues in football?
I think it would be
your top 4.
Commercialism, age, gender, and drugs.
Go on, why do you think that? Just briefly tell me.
Commercialism can drive people away from the game, which have a negative impact on it. Not only for the people who want to watch and get involved, but for the clubs themselves, as they'll bring less money in. Age and gender, because you need to get as many people involved again as possible to keep the game growing and popular. And drugs, because it's not only is it a health risk for the players, but it also affects results, causes bans, fines, and just negative all round for the club and player.
Class, well done. The presentation was really good. I liked how you got the walking football, like one of the most recent initiatives. How do you think that went?
Yeah, quite well.
Yeah? Positive and a development point, you tell me.
For a development point, I'd maybe a bit less writing on the slides and just like expanding on it more. And for a positive, for the points I was trying to get across were clear.
Yeah, they were good, especially the tables you did at the end with the long term and short term. It was really good. Well done.